الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ومولانا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم افتح علينا حكمتك وانشر علينا رحمتك وعلمنا من لدنك علما ينفعنا في الدين والدنيا الكريم. أما بعد، إن شاء الله تعالى, we continue to read the words of Sayyidi Ibn Ata'illah rahimahullah ta'ala. And in the last class, Sayyidina Ata'illah was speaking about the friends of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who are the simplest and easiest means to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made it the norm in this dunya that we find it easier as human beings to follow and understand from people we can relate to, from people who are people like us. And He sent subhanahu wa ta'ala prophets and anbiya in the form of people. And He said subhanahu wa ta'ala, even if we were to send angels, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ مَلَكًا لَجَعَلْنَاهُ رَجُلًا, and if we were to make our messengers angels, would make them look like people, or would make them human beings. So we are now, after reading 161 Hikam, we are set to, inshallah ta'ala, understand the majority of the fundamentals of the tasawwuf, of what we should be doing. And uh, Sayyidina Ata'illah has even spoken about finding a person and Rabbi, and seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Once you start to seek Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, one thing that we've spoken about many times is that your focus should be Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Your focus should be to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And you shouldn't be distracted with other things. And in our class of Tasawwuf, we spoke about the main distractions from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the main obstacles that people find blocks them from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It means it blocks there. Just because the reaching Allah ta'ala is spiritual reaching, it's metaphorical. The same thing that this is a metaphorical spiritual block means that your focus will be on them, will be on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They stop you from having that connection with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we said that the main things that block you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I mentioned in the books of Tasawwuf in detail. We said that the dunya, this life, we said that's one thing that blocks you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We said the shaitan, we said the nafs, and we said people. Okay? People block you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many ways. The most effective way we all can relate to is when you get overwhelmed and you focus on their opinions about you, on the way they see you. Okay? People, subhanallah, are the reason why many leaders, many kings, many people who are seen to be great people in this life lost their path and weren't able to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In our Sirah class the other week, we're speaking about Herakl, the leader of the Byzantine Empire. At the time of Prophet ﷺ, he used to believe in the Prophet ﷺ, and he knew the Prophet ﷺ was a true prophet, and he wished that if the Prophet ﷺ was to cross paths with him, that he washed the feet of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he scrubbed them with his own hands. That's what he said in front of everyone. But it was people's opinion about him that prevented him from accepting Islam. And some narrations say that even he was the one who led the armies to fight the Muslims in the Battle of Mu'tah. In the Battle of Mu'tah, where we know that the leaders of Rasulullah, Zayd ibn Harith, Abdullah ibn Rawaha, they all passed away, they were died uh, in this huge battle and conflict between the Muslims and between the people at that time. Today, in the modern world, we see the same thing. We see how some leaders might, in the beginning of their life, have certain positive, or good intentions, certain focus on other things, and some type of differentiation between what is true and bad. And you find that it's the people around them, the influence that stops them, prevents them from doing important and right things in this life. If we were to remove people's opinions from our heart, subhanallah, we wouldn't have any of this. If we were to do that with everyone, and everyone had this type of tarbiyah, even when someone reaches power or is in charge of other things, people's opinions won't affect them. When people's opinions didn't affect your choices in life, subhanallah, immediately your choices take you far ways to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Sayyidina Allah says, غيب نظر الخلق إليك بنظر الله إليك وغب عن إقبالهم عليك بشهود إقباله عليك.
Vanish from sight the eyes of people on you with the eye of God on you, and be absent from their coming towards you by seeing God approaching you.
So many people understand that they should focus on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But inside us, there is something inside us that keeps on bringing us back to being attached to people's opinions. Sayyidina Allah is saying, look, the advice is that you compare them to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. Compare their opinion about you with Allah Ta'ala's opinion about you. Compare what they'll be saying, what they'll be seeing of you, to what Allah Ta'ala says. If you're happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Malik al-Muluk, to see you going against the truth, standing in the wrong side of history, doing the wrong things, siding with those who are on the wrong path, and you know it's the wrong path, and you're happy with the Creator, with the one who sustains you and them, see it like that, that's a huge issue. Why? Because of this small outcome in this dunya of so and so seeing you and being happy. وَغِبْ عَنْ إِقْبَالِهِمْ عَلَيْكَ. They're coming towards you, the attention of people with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's attention and approaching you. If Allah ta'ala, if He gives you attention, okay, what do we say? Allah ta'ala, if He directs His anwar towards you, if He makes you a person who is getting that constant istimdad from Him subhanahu wa ta'ala, what a great blessing is that. Imagine if Allah ta'ala is constantly blessing you and giving you and opening for you, and you're alone, no one knows about you, or no one cares about you in this dunya. How rich would you be? But imagine someone who's got so much attention from people, so many followers, whatever it is, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't care about them. Okay? So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if He finds that you're sincere, of course, He would give you other means in this life to start to break your attachment to people's opinions. This could happen to someone through tazkiyah and through a shaykh immediately. And sometimes you need, some lessons in life. Like, for example, you go through a big fitna, a big test in your life, where people leave you. Many people have noticed it. They accept Islam, the whole family cuts them off. Okay? They accept Islam, their main values and what they're attached in their life is tested. The closest friendship, the closest relationship with their parents, with everyone else, is tested, and if they side with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they side with إِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْغَالِبُونَ, Allah ta'ala will give you this. Same thing, some people, they learn in life, they learn about the true manhaj and understanding the way of the scholars of Islam and the people of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And people are not happy with this, people don't like it. People tend to like what the trends and what people are doing, what the norm is out there, and they will try to do anything to break this, to break you, to stop you from doing it, even though you're not harming them, you're not forcing them to do what you do. This is also a way of testing and a way of Allah ta'ala telling you and testing you and teaching you not to be attached to individuals. So, like we said, the test when it comes into this is that we are human beings, and humans are naturally we are social beings. We're people who like to be with others. And one of the reasons insan is called insan is from al-uns. You find comfort in other people. Okay, our life is built on relationships, and we can't break off from relationships. Allah Ta'ala is not asking us to not have relationships. Okay, relationships are detrimental and very important for us, and they're not things that we should run away from. Okay? Like we said, tazkiyah is not about changing the reality and the norms of life, but it's about adjusting them to not block you from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? So, like we said, you can be social, but only in a way that doesn't block you from Allah ta'ala. Mix with the right people. Don't change your opinion for people. Make sure you protect yourself in your social life. Okay. And like we said, the danger of people is one of the greatest dangers. The Prophet ﷺ says, الذي يخالط الناس ويصبر على أذاهم خير من الذي لا يخالط الناس ولا يخلص. The one who mixes people and has patience with their harm and their effect on them is better than the one who doesn't have patience. Tasawwuf teaches you how to have patience, and then once you're ready, you learn the fundamentals, then you mix with people, you go back to your normal life, and subhanallah, you're able to deal with these kind of things. You don't get affected by people's opinions. And that's why sometimes there's an aspect of khalwa that is required before this. But generally, we want people to be attached to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to be affected by others. And sadly, most people are obsessed with people's opinion. It's the reality of most people. And this door is one of the easiest doors for shaitan to enter with a person. Other people, people. And subhanAllah, in reality, what we've seen in life is that people, they come and go. Their opinions change day by day. Wallahi, the amount of people I've seen who had good opinions of me, then bad opinions, then changed back to good again. Or had really bad opinions, and then all of a sudden they changed to good. So many people. Things change. People's opinions change. Day after day, the same individual who used to, so and so, Zaid or Amr or whoever it is, who has used to have a certain opinion yesterday, in 5 years' time, you find that they change. And most people don't stay on the same opinions and stuff. Most people get on with their life. So you be the one who was stuck behind and you left the truth for other people's opinions, and the people even got along with life. And maybe they even adapted the things that they don't want you to do. So don't worry about people. Don't worry about people. سيدنا عبد الله بن عطاء الهذاني says من عرف الحق شهدناه في كل شيء ومن فني به غاب عن كل شيء ومن أحبه لم يؤثر عليه شيئا.
Whoever knows the truth witnesses him in everything. Whoever is annihilated in him is absent from everything, and whoever loves him does not prefer anything over him.
Okay. Because we've spoken about love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala many times, okay, and knowing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I don't want to repeat this concept, but I want to talk about this in a different angle today. So if you look at this hikmah, Ibn Āṭā says, Man araf al-haq. He says about what? About knowing about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Understanding, some of the reality of the difference between a Lord and a slave. Okay? Whoever reaches that level of understanding the reality of this life, immediately sees Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sees the effect of Allah ta'ala in everything around him. وَمَنْ فَنِيَ بِهِ. And whoever reaches a high level of love, which is al-fana, where they disappear, okay? Meaning that they don't focus on other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Everything other than Allah ta'ala disappears for them. They don't even, get affected or even notice what happens in the world. وَمَنْ أَحَبَّهُ لَمْ يُؤْثِرْ عَلَيْهِ. Whoever loves Allah ta'ala genuinely, okay, will never put anything else. Who truly loves Allah ta'ala, will never put anything before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, Ibn Ata'illah, he talks about ma'rifah, about al-fana, and about hub. Different levels of love. So today, inshallah, we want to focus on some of the different aspects of love. How different aspects of love and different angles of love can affect you differently. Okay? And how these levels of love keep on increasing. So love, as we always say, is a sacred concept. And it's the easiest way to reach Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it's a true sign of you being sincere. If you really love Allah ta'ala, then that's a huge, huge blessing. And the Sufiya always talk about worshiping Allah Ta'ala through love. Like you worship Allah Ta'ala not out of fear, out of love for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Not out of just hope of Jannah, but out of love for Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Then your hope, your fear, everything falls falls under the love of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. So uh, love deserves a lot of focus, and there's so many aspects of love. Okay. I want to talk now about some levels of love that the Sufiya talk about, inshallah. So this could be our lesson for today. We learn the levels of love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay. The first type of love would be al-mahabba or al-mail. Okay, what does mail mean? Mail generally means that a person leans towards the one they love. Leans uh, towards the one they love. So this is the first level of love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is that your heart now leans more towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and wants to worship Him more. Like you start to enjoy salah more, you enjoy siyam more. Um, you feel that kind of like a pull towards being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? Um, uh, for example, you witness the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, how everything's from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You start to get close. What most of the people, most of the laymen for love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is male. Okay? And of course, you love Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah ta'ala loves you. So male is from both sides, it's a beautiful aspect of love. After male, another level is al-Hawa. Okay? Al-Hawa is not only your heart leaning towards you basically, preferring and being more comfortable with being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hawa is another level. Okay? Hawa basically is that you now your soul also leans towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it becomes basically like something that you crave. Okay? And basically this immediately makes you detach from dunya. So it's not only focusing on the outside, so just general male or love is that you focus on the physical aspects. You'll be praying, you'll be doing physical things. Hawa is one level higher, where also spiritually, in the inside, you're starting to disattach from the dunya, and subhanallah, you're focusing on the inside, the inner love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hallaj, she says, and I'll talk about some poems here because these poems we hear all the time in our majalis. So I want us, when we read these poems, to have these meanings in our mind. Okay, the meanings, because if the poems don't spark the meaning of love of Allah Ta'ala in your heart, then you're not doing proper sama'. Sama' is a concept. It's the meaning behind listening, and listening is the levels that's in soul. The highest level of listening is to listen to something and have full understanding of the words of the Sufi about this concept. And when you hear these words, it reflects all those things that you learned. So Hallaj says, "Ana man ahwa wa man ahwa ana, nahnu ruhani halalna badana." I'm the one who I have hawa. No, I love. It says I love you, but the real meaning is I have hawa, who I lean towards and my soul leans towards. And the one I lean towards is me. I am him and he is me. Okay? We are two souls who have merged into one body. This is all metaphorical, of course, okay? And basically talking about the concept of love. And then if you understand the depth of concept of love, then imagine if this is between people, how it would be. How it would be if that was between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? فإذا أبصرتني أبصرته وإذا أبصرته أبصرتنا. If you see me, you see him. When you see him, you see us. أيها السائل عن قصتنا لو ترانا لم تفرق بيننا. Oh, you asked about our story, how we got here. If you saw us, you wouldn't even distinguish between us. There's no point of asking about us because we are the same thing. Okay? فأنا ذاك وذاك أنا نحن روحاني حلنا بدلا. Again, he says, I am that one and that one is me. We are two souls who became one body. And to the end of the poem. So you can see, subhanAllah, that after the physical type of leaning towards and love of the ones you love, there's also a spiritual aspect that comes in a love, and basically, khalas, you start to detach from everything else. Okay. After that, the next level is as-sababa. As-sababa. You hear the word sab all the time. What does that mean? Okay. A sub is someone who has the most extreme level of of missing the person. Okay, so you always you feel like you're missing, and you can't wait to get back, and that you miss your beloved. So it's not only that your heart is towards them, and you physically and spiritually towards inclined towards the one you love, but here sababa is that you also always feel the need to go back, and you feel like you're missing, and you feel that when you miss your friend and you haven't visited for a long time and you really miss them deeply, you have that same feeling, although you're always connected to the one you love. um uh, in the famous poem we read, عار عليكم ألا تجيروا صبا أتى باكي العيون. It's someone who loves talking to the ones that they love, saying that that it's not doesn't fit that you don't take under your shelter a person who's reached the state of sababa, who always misses you 24/7 and came to you with the eyes pouring with tears. It's sababa. Another level of love is al-gharam. Is al-gharam. We always hear this all the time, yeah? مغرمون, كؤوس الغرام, other things like that. Gharam, okay, is now that a person is 100% attached. Okay, so you don't just miss the person now, but you're actually physically attached, meaning that it's impossible to break away. It's impossible for anything to come that splits between you. You no longer need to feel that you're just missing out, but here you feel like you are one. You're so present with your love that you become mughram, that you just obsessed, basically. In English, the closest word would be obsessed. Okay, in some of the words of the Sufiya, they would say دارت كؤوس الغرام ما بين الموالي فزادهم استلام حال على حال. So the cups of gharam, okay, were served and they went around the masters of the mawali, okay. فزادهم استلام, so it increased them in their being drunk of love, and it added to the spiritual state even more. فقلت لهم يا كرام هل ترضون بحالي فقالوا يا غلام إذا كنت خالي. So I said to them, oh no, once, are you pleased with me? Accept me. They said, only if you are empty from everything else other than the beloved, then he will accept you. So that's al-gharam. Okay. Another level of love is al-ishq. Al-ishq. Okay. We always sing this song all the time. عشقناكم ولا عتب علينا وصبح الوصل يمحو القاطع. So al-ishq basically is an extreme level of intense love, to the extent that a person now uh, forgets their own existence. So basically, you no longer focus on yourself. You're so deeply immersed in love that basically you forget about your own existence, and your focus is only on the one you love. Okay, so it's very intense. It's hard to even control, and you break through many barriers that were there before. Okay, you just want to be close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay, and shawq it exists in other languages also, as a dhakar. So al-ishq, sorry, even in Turkish and Pakistan, other countries, ishq is known that it's a very extreme type of love, and people use it in love stories a lot. Ishq, according to the Sufis, is something a lot more serious. After ishq, there is of course shawq, and shawq is similar to what we mentioned before, to have to earn and to miss the one you love, and basically they say shawq in tasawwuf means that you take like you'll be hurt, your mind taking pain for the one you love. Your mind getting hurt in their cause. And shawq is basically what pushes you forward. It makes you continue to go to extents that you didn't take before. Take really deep steps. Okay. They also have al-wajd. And wajd basically is when your ruh, or your soul, basically something happens to where it shakes. Okay, so the love is so intense, subhanallah, that you taste something that wasn't there before, and you can't, like, you can't, it's too much for you, basically. So you enter a state of basically like of being shaken spiritually by the love. That's al-wajd. And sometimes dhikr circle and stuff, some people, they have a certain state where they start to shake or something like that. This could be a state of wajd, when they feel that immense love fall upon them, basically. It's called wajd. Okay. Al-Hiyam is also Hayyamuni is one of the words that we hear in the poems. Al-Hiyam basically is a type of love that has passed all the other levels of love. You don't only forget about your own existence, but your existence disappears. Everything else also disappears, and basically, there's nothing existing in your reality other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Fana, Fana means to actually disappear. And basically, that's what Ibn Āṭā mentioned in his Hikmah. Okay, al-Fana means that a thing no longer exists. So you don't just your existence doesn't disappear or fade away, but it no longer exists, meaning that it can't come back anymore. It can't come back. Okay, you've totally been absorbed in love. Okay, and you can't go back. You've reached a level where the love is so deep that you can't go back in it. Okay, and the Sufis say فافنى إن شئت فناء سرمدا فالفناء يدني إلى ذاك الفناء. So you enter the state of fana, of disappearing, if you want, and make it forever disappearing. Because when you disappear, you enter the fina, you enter the um the garden or the house of the one you love. You're only allowed to enter, given a card to enter, once you disappear, and you no longer leave behind any traces of yourself, basically. The last level of love is al-baqa. Okay. The Sufis say that baqa comes after fana. So fana is when everything disappears, you disappear yourself, everything is gone. Okay? Baqa means to be there forever. Okay. So basically, after everything disappearing for you in your heart, in your mind, other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you enter a state of baqa where now you do exist. Okay. But you only exist through your attachment and love to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So you go back to your normal life. You can be with people, but you're present with Allah ta'ala 24/7. People don't make a difference. And in here, when you understand this concept of baqa, you can understand the last hikmah before this, was Sayyidina ʿAṭā, he was talking about not being attached to people. We said in that hikmah that when you are with people but you're not attached to them, that's the peak of reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the peak of being a slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You're able to mix with people and not be affected by them. That's when you reach the state of baqa. Many times in Hikam we've spoken about people, and even in the discuss itself, going back to a state of being with people but not being affected by them. The state of baqa is what the Sufiya mean. They say that a person now exists, they're present, but their heart didn't come back. Their heart is still with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's a small glimpse of some of the levels of mahabba that's what we talk about. There's other scholars who talk about levels of mahabba from a different angle. Ibn Qayyim, for example, if you read in some of his books, and other not only Ibn Qayyim, other people mention this. They talk about al-ʿalāqa, so attachment, basically. Then irada, having a will. He's talking about smaller steps, basically. Having a will, wanting good. Sababa, so yearning towards a person. Gharam, having passion. Widad, having affection. Okay, shaghaf, deep love. Tatayyum, so being enslaved by love. Ta'alluq, being clingy. Okay, ta'alluq, of course, we spoke about that. Hiyam, which we just spoke about before. Rapturous love, and then al-khulla, immediate friendship. He said, they say these types of levels of love exist even for people, like in personal relationships. Al-Khalil is always the closest person, the closest friend. So generally, whether you look at this chart or the explanation I gave before from the books of the soul, love is something intense and it has many levels to it. You can say it's a spectrum, and it doesn't mean that we can say this person now they're into this level now, tomorrow they'll be in that level. It's something that you might not notice that you're going through, but inshallah, the more you increase, the more you're aware, inshallah, the more of these levels you can taste and experience with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we ask Allah ta'ala to get us to levels where we don't go back to being attached to things that are horrible and terrible and attach us to the dunya, inshallah. Sayyidina Āṭā rahimahullah ta'ala then says, he says, uh, إنما حجب الحق عنك لشدة قربه منك. And then he says إنما احتجب لشدة ظهوره وخفي عن الأبصار لعظم نوره.
The truth is only veiled from you due to his being extremely close. He is only veiled from you due to his being too obvious, and he is hidden from physical sight due to the tremendous light of his entity.
Yeah. So reaching Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, being close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as we said, is something that is available for everyone. And Allah ta'ala has the doors open for everyone. But because it's so close and so simple and so easy, that's why, subhanAllah, you find some people, they don't do much work. They start on their journey and very quickly, subhanAllah, you find them experiencing beautiful things, beautiful aspects of love. Why? Because Allah ta'ala is there. Okay? You're the one who needs to remove the barriers between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you have created. They're all false barriers, not even physical, real barriers. Okay? But Allah ta'ala is there. The doors are open. Okay? So because it's so close, people take that for granted. They don't think that it's possible to reach Allah ta'ala. They don't think that it's impossible. And because it's so close, subhanahu wa ta'ala, they miss the chances, subhanAllah. And the closer Allah ta'ala is to you, the more you don't notice. And this reality is something that everyone will notice and will understand one day. If you choose to understand it now in dunya, it helps you a lot. It will, inshallah ta'ala, be something that motivates you. Start being serious, taking your relationship with Allah ta'ala seriously. That's what it's about. That's what preaching or teaching is. That's all it's about. And if you take your time and don't realize that, subhanAllah, your life might pass and you still haven't subhanAllah, taken a serious step towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or you've only taken a physical small step when there's so much more to discover and to experience. Inshallah ta'ala. سيدنا ابن الله then says لا يكن طلبك تسببا إلى العطاء منه فيقل فهمك عنه وليكن طلبك لإظهار العبودية وقياما بحقوق الربوبية.
Do not suppose your supplication will cause him to give, lest your understanding suffer. Rather supplicate to him to show your slavehood and to fulfill the rights of his lordship.
Now, alhamdulillah, this concept we've spoken about many times, so I wouldn't talk about detail now. We spoke about our dua being a means of showing our need and a means of connecting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, nothing else. We ask Him for what we need because what we need is a reason that Allah gave us to show our weakness. Like you wanna get buy a house, get a car, get a job. It's something you need. So if it's a need, that means that it's actually a means to show your weakness. It's something. It's a chance for you to show your weakness and to remind yourself of your weakness in front of Allah Subhanahu wa Taala, to be humble, not to get what you want. Okay, who are you to get what you want? Okay, if you focus on getting what you want, you have not understood the concept of worshiping Allah Ta'ala. We have a whole class about this in al-Ḥikam. We explained the concept of dua, but it's a reminder here, and he's reminding you now in this point of the Ḥikam, after talking about the reality of love and how that's what you should be focused on, and after talking about not being attached to things, to dunya, to people, other things, now he's reminding you of this. Then he says, كيف يكون طلبك اللاحق سببا في عطائه السابق?
How can your latest supplication be a cause for his predestined giving?
So Allah Ta'ala has written down what's going to happen for you. And if He's going to give you what you want, it will come to you. Okay? And basically everything has been created before. So why do we make so much dua? Why do we ask for it? Like we said, understand the philosophy behind dua. You're not getting it. You're not getting it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants you to show your ubudiyah, to be humble towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But your dua is not what's going to get you that thing. What's going to get you that thing is Allah ta'ala giving it to you. Okay? So be ready and be in a state that when you're gifted what you asked for, you can appreciate it. You can act upon the haqq of that thing. That's all but you don't have to worry about the thing coming to you. That's not your job. No. And then he says, جل حكم الأزل أن ينضاف إلى العلل.
A pre-eternal command is high above needing an external cause.
Inshallah, this hikmah it has a lot of detail. So the word illa, what it means. So we'll talk about it next week, inshallah. So we'll stop on hikmah 168 بإذن الله تعالى. صلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. إن شاء الله we'll see everyone next week بإذن الله تعالى.